I want to ask you too about your one-on-one card.
All right.
Beautiful card.
It was. I'll give you a quick little synopsis of what happened. I went to a show here in New Jersey.
Mhm.
Spent a few hours at the show, shopping around, picked a couple of small things up here and there. And you know how there's always at smaller shows, there's always usually one big table with a bunch of wax. And you're looking and you normally don't buy anything, but sometimes you might dabble with something cheap. And I saw the Topps Finest box sitting there. There was a couple there. And I was looking at myself, should I buy one? I ripped one before. I was like, let me do it. So I bought that and a Bounty Hunters box, and I got a little package deal. Going home from the show, and I'm saying to myself, maybe I should record myself ripping this. I don't record. I don't break by any means. I don't rip wax by any means like that. Maybe some stuff from Target, small stuff.
Mhm.
I'm like, all right, you know what? Let me record it. Maybe I'll pull something big. Who knows? So I'm recording it. I go through the first little mini box of the master box. If anyone knows what those are, that's how it's set up. The first box I pull a black refractor, and a black refractor in Star Wars is number out of 10. And usually when you pull something like that, you're like, this is the hit of the box. You're like, that's it. Like you're not going to get much more than that. So I'm giddy. I mean, I'm ecstatic of pulling that. An out of 10 black refractor is amazing. And I get to the second mini box, and I'm on my first pack, and you pull it over. I do the whole reveal it a little bit, and there's the super fractor print, and I'm like, oh my god. But obviously, as everyone always expects, it's probably some no-name guy, and I'm thinking it's some no-name Star Wars character that had like 2 minutes of screen time, and then I see like the little rifle sticking up, and I'm like, oh my god, I think it's the Mandalorian, and boom, there it is, and I'm like, wow. And when you pull a card like that, that's like pulling a rookie card of like Patrick Mahomes, and
Oh yeah.
you
Oh yeah.
know, because that's the other than Grogu, Baby Yoda, he's the character of modern day Star Wars. There's really nobody more popular. Mandalorian. You find these shirts in every Walmart, every Target, every Marshalls, every store known to man in North America. There's a Mandalorian shirt in there. He's so popular. He's the Darth Vader of the modern era,
That's right.
popularity wise.
Yep.
So pulling that and being a Star Wars fan like I am, and how much I appreciate the brand, I couldn't believe it. And then I sent it off to grading after much deliberation, after much back and forth with the Star Wars community on Facebook, which I think we should talk about a little bit because I think it's a very interesting debate for sports and Star Wars in general. But I had a lot of people tell me not to grade a 1 of 1. It was like sacrilegious to grade a 1 of 1, especially a Star Wars card in general. People don't even believe you should grade Star Wars cards, let alone a 1 of 1.
I remember
I
you
ended
and
up grading.
I exchanged a few notes. I told you to go
Yeah,
PSA route.
yep. And I went the PSA route, and it came back a PSA 9.
That was a
You
bomb
can
card.
see it.
Yeah.
You
Beautiful
know,
card.
it is a beautiful card. Got a PSA 9 for a die cut, as everyone knows, it's die cuts, especially one as eccentric as this one. A 9 is
Bruh.
amazing.
Bruh. That's hard to get, people. I don't care if that card was many of them and you send it in and it's a die cut. A 9 is almost impossible to get.
Especially nowadays.
That's right. So let me
So
ask you
yeah,
this question. Let me ask you this question before we get to
yeah.
the Facebook groups.
Mhm.
Don't tell me a dollar amount, but I know people have been coming at you about that card.
100%. I've actually had a lot more offers for it raw.
Okay.
I haven't marketed it as much as an available card since I've had it graded because I've been traveling a bunch. But when I had it raw, I was posting like crazy, available, and I've had a ton of offers. There's a couple guys in the Star Wars community who buy up all these super fractors, and I've had a ton of like interest of asking me what's your number, what's your number, and I say like, listen, this is the range I want to be around, but
Mhm.
make me an offer. I have to be somewhere, and and I'm going and just to to show like some sort of ballpark of a Mandalorian esque superfractor card raw sold on eBay for $9,000. That individual who I've talked to actually had his graded as well. His graded a PSA 9. They actually upcharged him $600 for that card.
Hmm.
And mine actually, I spent $100 and they didn't even upcharge me because I didn't have a documented comp on eBay because I pulled it. But it's a crazy thing to value a superfractor, especially of an individual character in the non-sports world like the Mandalorian, specifically because there's not a lot of superfractors of him at all, and not any until this set of him as a self-titled, which is essentially like his first. It's a superfractor rookie card in a sense.
So Phoenix Rising asks a good question. Why not graded 101? Why are people saying that?
Yeah, so I think they I don't know how much it has to do with people wanting to buy it raw so they have an upside in comparison to just they truly for some reason believe that grading the card is a detriment to the card, which I don't understand whatsoever. But in my point of view, grading the card just takes away that uncertainty of whether it's authentic, whether what's the condition. Oh, like if you sell it raw, oh, that corner looks a little dinged. I don't know about the surface. I have to see it in person. But no, listen, it's a PSA 9. You get what you get. It's slabbed. There's no, it's not going to be damaged ever. It's in a case, and that's it. And I'm not. People like to say, oh, are you pumping and dumping? I've been asked this question, are you pumping and dumping? And I'm like, no, I'm just bragging that I pulled this card. I love the card. I have a lot of high-end Star Wars cards that I have never sold. I sell $100 cards, $150 cards, $30 cards, but I haven't even sold any of my high-end stuff that's $1,000 or more because I love the card. People have to make offers that I can't refuse in order for me to move some of my higher-end stuff. And that's even with my sports cards. I have that Steph Curry autograph card. I still have it. I was offered $1,500 and $1,800 at the last Philly card show, and I didn't take it because I love the card so much. You'd have to offer me $200 to $2,200 for me to even consider selling it because of how much I appreciate the card. And that's the same thing with my Star Wars stuff. So, and guys like the Great Curator are accused of pumping and dumping, and all these other guys that like Daft Sports of pumping and dumping, but no, you don't see a lot of transactions of the higher end cards because there's a lot of guys like me, the Great Curator, the Daft Sports of the world, who actually collect the stuff and appreciate it for what it is and appreciate the scarcity, appreciate the rarity. And the thing about the Star Wars cards are, especially with the collectors in the community, once these guys get these cards, they don't sell them. You will never see cards like this on the market on eBay. That's why there's no comps of this stuff. Nobody sells
eBay
stuff
every day. They're not on eBay.
Yep. So crazy, and that's just the way it is. But I love the card so much, and someone would have to make an offer that I can't refuse, and not because I'm greedy by any means. I don't really care about selling it right away because I love showing it off. I want to come out to LA, which is where the Star Wars market is incredibly liquid, incredibly saturated, like a show like Dallas, and come and show it off. Educate people, show people. And if someone comes up to me and offers me a pile of cash for it, I'll think about it. And if it's something, and I also am also the kind of guy that wants to sell it to somebody who I know will appreciate it. I don't want to just sell it off to someone who's just gonna, move it to some auction house or whatever, something like that. I mean, I don't care if someone does that, but I really do want to get someone who does appreciate something like this.
Beautiful card. Big John says collecting Star Wars is great fun and full of collectors. So I want to make sure we cover off the Facebook groups. Did we get a chance?
Mm-hmm. No. So just to quickly touch on it, like I posted it on Facebook raw, and I said, hey guys, like, what do you think? Should I send it SGC? Should I send it PSA, Beckett? And I had a lot of supporters who followed me on Instagram kind of cross over to the Facebook group and kind of support me and back me up. Not like I was defending myself by any means, but like I had some guys that were for the whole grading aspect, but there were some guys that were saying, I mean, pure hate of the aspect and idea of grading. They're saying just like grading takes away from it. If you get a PSA 8 or 7, you might as well have not even graded it. You're wasting your time. Like I said before, I don't see that. I don't know how you feel about it. I know how sports collectors in general, once you pull a card, the next day it's in the mail going to grade.
Oh yeah, I plan to go to the Burbank show next week and submit a few cards for grading. I plan to grade a lot of cards in 2023. I have talked to people who would never grade a car, and we've had conversations about that at shows. I just think it's a difference in philosophy. There's some people who never grade a comic book. They would
Mhm.
never grade a comic book, and I love
And
grading.
why do you think that is?
Well, in the comic book world, people want to read. They see it as a book. The people I've talked to, they want to continue to be able to read the story. Well, in today's world, you can go online and look up the story. They don't want to do that. They want to read it as a book. I can respect that. I see it as a piece of art. Once it's graded, it's preserved forever.
Mhm.
I can hang it on the wall or anything like anything else. Cars, people see the same way. They want the wear and tear to be there over time to show the age of the car and the life of the car. Those are the things that I've heard from people. I like to again preserve the car, put it in the case. Some people say a car should never have a new number on them from what some third party person that you don't know thought that the grade of the car was. Let us determine that when we have a conversation about it. It's just old school, man. When I started collecting, there was no grading of cars. So
Mhm.
you walk into LCS and Nick, you may have the car marked as near mint. I may pick the card up and say, no, I think it's mint. Your price is off. There would be some haggling back and forth about what the true condition or the price of the car was. I like grading because it takes all that away. I also like grading
Mhm.
because now I know how many cars in existence of this particular card. There's a population count. Just like in comics, there's a circulation of how
Mhm.
many books was signed by someone or received a 9.8, a 9.4, or 9.2. Everybody knows that. Those are the things that I like, but it's all about preference. I think as we move forward, more and more cars are going to be graded. More and more
Mhm.
cars will be in the market. There are probably some Jordan rookies out here that are amazing that may never be graded until 10 years from now when somebody else has the car or something like that. That's just
Probably
how,
some Mickey Mantles too. Yeah.
yeah, that's just how it goes. Like the guy who had the tops, the other Mickey Mouse, not the tops 10, the non,
The Bowman.
yeah. His story of how he got that car years ago. Paid 50 some thousand
Mhm.
for a car, kept it in storage out of under consistent temperature and out of light.
Mhm.
Some people think that stuff is rare. I mean, and
Mhm.
kind of weird. Well, like, why would you do that? Like
Mhm.
myself, anything that I buy, like I don't have it while I'm looking at it all the time. It's somewhere tucked away in a dark place at the same temperature. I've always done autographs like that. That's why I can look at an autograph today that I may have gotten 25 years ago. It looked like somebody just signed it.
Mhm.
But we all have our own preferences, man. I know people that display all of their cars. So they may open their living room curtains and the sun is shining on their cars. That's just
Mhm.
what we prefer as people. So they're more interested in UV coating. And we all know PSA doesn't even do that yet.
Mhm. Yeah,
So
and I know a guy. I know a guy who collects Star Wars, specifically the Galaxy Chrome stuff that's super popular. And he literally buys cards graded or raw. And if he buys them graded, he cracks them out and puts them in a display case. But he will only get them as long as he can put them back into raw form. It's crazy.
well,
And he
it's
has the
really,
whole set.
yeah, it's really whatever that person. I just think if you're, this is just me. I just think if you're collecting, you automatically have a preference for something. That's what makes us collectors or people who buy certain things like stamps, coins, whatever. You have a preference. There are some people who collect coins that will never get something that's uncirculated, that's graded, that's in something. They want the coin that was in
Mhm.
circulation that tells the history of the coin. So we all have preferences. I'm not here to down on someone else's preference. I do have my own. So
Mhm.
all good.
Yep.
So
Same
people may,
here.
yeah, don't
And
break that card, but it looks wonderful to me.
yeah, and I want to touch on this real quick, just based on the Facebook stuff. I had a lot of people telling me, "Oh, don't grade it because it's the corners are banged up, the surface looks scratched." I'll just say this to everyone watching: do your own due diligence, and I think it's cool to experiment, see how well you know how to judge a card's condition. I thought I judge it very well. I talked to guys that I trust, like UFD and other guys in the hobby, and I said, what
And
do
you should
you
be
guys think? And
yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah.
I took some opinions, and I took some of the trusted minds in the hobby like you, and I took that into consideration. But I also made sure that I made my final decision on how comfortable I felt with the observations that I made. And obviously, I have some sort of sense of what I'm looking at. Because I got a 9, and I've had a lot of success grading, whether it's with Beckett or PSA, that was my first PSA card, but SGC I've graded 50 plus cards with SGC, and I haven't gotten anything under an 8.5. And the 8.5s were always the thicker cards, but it's been fun grading. It's a fun to buy a card raw or pull a card raw and grade it and see what you get, because you could add some value too, which is always the cherry on top.
What I like about what you just said is seek others' advice in the hobby. I always give the blender analogy. Seek other people's advice, drop that in. Maybe some other information that you may have, drop that in. Do your own research, like you talked about, your own analysis of a situation. You looked at this card and said, hey, I think it's this. Drop that into that blender. Now, when you blend all that up and you pour out, you make the final decision on what's in that glass. What are you going to do? What decision are you going to make? And I think the more people do that, the happier they will be with the outcomes that come. If you would have just listened to people and put your blinders on and not did anything yourself, you probably wouldn't have the same pride that you have in the grade of this card that you do today, because you know the work and the due diligence that you put in to the final product and outcome. And that's what it's all about to me. That's what I keep promoting, that. Do your own thing, think for yourself, and then you'll probably look at something and be like, you know what?
Yep. And if I would have listened to
tap me on the shoulder and says, hey man, won't you cheer and root for the success of this man, James Wiseman? I remember when I sold a LeBron card and bought a Curry rookie card, people in the comments, man, you're crazy.
Yeah,
what are you
and
doing?
I'm sure people are telling you, why the heck are you buying James Wiseman?
Yeah, why you buying Wiseman?
And when he goes out and averages a more than double, you're going to be like, yeah.
It is what it is. I know I got the eye test. That was a man, my father, taught me how to watch basketball, football, baseball, and boxing, and understand who is a real deal player, fighter here. I go back to what he taught me. And when I look at a player, I watched 2 games of James Wiseman at Memphis. I watched some stuff during this rookie year. I saw something that was very different. So if I'm wrong on that, I could be wrong. We all could be wrong. But, just because this person is buying LaMelo Ball or Anthony Edwards doesn't mean I'm going to run out. Oh, yeah, you got a Anthony Edwards card? You got a Edwards card? You got a LaMelo Ball card? I'm not just going to do that.
Yeah, and it's also a smart buy too, because you're getting good value for your Wiseman cards, because you're not paying these LaMelo Ball premiums for people are paying premiums for LaMelo Ball for no reason. He hasn't done anything special of any kind, where James Wiseman has nothing but upside, and you're paying very fair prices for an upside that is astronomical.
That's why I look at it too. Hero 3 says Wiseman will probably have that Tim Duncan value. Hero 3, let's see. Let's see. I mean, maybe he does it. I don't know. Tanya, I really appreciate you being here. Awesome advice.